see if this works. I look so fancy right now with this jacket, but I just thought it was cute. And like, it's not incredibly cold enough to wear this, but it's bearable and it's only for the filming, okay? But hey guys, welcome back to Fiber Forum. Actually, before I even like wanted to film the last podcast, I wanted to make a podcast before, if that makes sense, but that episode wasn't gonna be a podcast. But then I realized, wow, it does really sound like a podcast. And I'm like, wait a minute, I just basically recorded my first podcast episode. And I was trying to figure out what to name it. And I came up with Fiber Forum because it just matches FF. And like, it just sounds nice to me. And I've been having fun creating like topics to talk about with y'all. And, you know, getting some feedback from y'all and everything. So that's exciting. And, you know, I'm going to obviously be talking about fibers and all that, obviously. And all the arts that come with it, like weaving, crocheting, knitting, and sewing. But I also want to talk about, you know, things that are going on in the world, things I like, all that kind of jazz. You know, I said it's basically going to be like a Brittany Broski report kind of thing. But fiber art, I'm not as funny as Brittany Broski, but I just kind of want that vibe, that chill vibe, you know. And so that's where we're really at today. And I'm basically going to create a granny square today. So before we even get into the topic, let's figure out what we're gonna do today, okay? I got my 6mm hook right here, and I have a bunch of scrap yarn, okay? This is scrap yarn from various projects, honestly. Like from my pantsy bag and my Heartalls shorts, which I haven't posted pictures of yet. Maybe by the time this goes out, I will. But I still haven't taken pictures of that because I've been honestly not feeling myself lately. And that's a problem. But anyways, we're gonna make a granny square blanket / cover all. I live in a very like small space, so a lot of things are just out in the open, and I would like to make like a cover for my workout stuff, which I'm looking at right now. You guys can see, obviously. And I thought it'd be cute to make a little granny square project with my scrap yarn. I also eventually want to make one for my table, like a table cover. But for now, we shall do a cover for the workout stuff, okay? So I have this green, yellow, or yellow-orange, I guess, like a yolky color, and dark blue. This other dark blue, which is not the same yarn. This is like Red Heart Saber yarn. This is Big Twist. Obviously, this one's a little bit darker than this one. And this lighter blue yarn, and this teal looking green yarn, I guess. It's not focusing. Oh well. This pink yarn. I also have a little bit left of this like very bright, like I don't even know what to call this. Royal blue? I don't know if it's royal blue per se. And this wool worsted yarn. I don't think I'm going to use this because it's kind of smaller. They say it's worsted, but honestly, it's kind of like a DK. I really need to get a yarn, like, was it ruler or some sort of whatever. Someone had recommended to me before. I think it was Ikra. Sorry, I just blanked out. And I'm... You know when you like suddenly remember something? Not that it was all related to what I was talking about, but you just realize something and you have to do it immediately or you'll forget because, I have ADHD, so I have to do it immediately, okay? So what I was saying, the worst doesn't work because this swatch looks like bluey a little bit. If you see here, I don't know if you guys can see actually. Let's see if we zoom in. Like, this is a more, I feel like, holy than these are. Like, the holes here are intentional, the holes here aren't. So I feel like, too, it's a little bit thinner than the worsted yarn. So I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use it for something else. But I guess we'll start with this yarn since it's the smallest one and work our way up to the bigger ones. Okay? But anyways, today I wanted to talk about the difference between inspiration slash copying. Inspiration versus copying, I mean. And you guys probably know where I'm going with this, but there's been a lot of debate. I mean, this debate has been going on forever. I mean, it's a big thing in the artist community in general, and then obviously the creative community. And this is the biggest thing that I feel like I suffered with when I first started wanting to get into the creative aspect of things. Also, I don't know if I mentioned it. I want to make a giant granny square, okay? So I wanted to be a creative, and obviously growing up, I feel like a lot of people who's watched YouTube, you wanted to be a YouTuber. And you know, as you get older, you realize things, and that is not something feasible at the moment. And also you start getting scared because people are being like called out for copying and stealing people's ideas. And obviously you don't want to do that. Don't steal people's ideas. But at the point, there's also like, there's things that are not, I feel like, any more original. So what I'm referring to basically is the whole debacle in the creative slash maximalist decor community between Karen, I think Karen, and Tay Bowie. I forgot their username, but you guys probably know what I mean. And so Tay said that, you know, Karen had basically copied her and reached out to her and said to basically stop copying her. And Karen apparently didn't stop it. And just FYI, I'm like not taking any sides. I think the whole situation could have been handled better, and I don't have any say in that matter because obviously it's not between me, and I feel like it should have been a private matter rather than like, you know, the whole internet. But there's just been that discourse forever about copying versus inspiration. And you know, I feel like we all have been inspired by our favorite artists and just, you know, in general by people and things in the world. But no one owns these creative ideas, okay? Especially like in the sense again of what I'm talking about, like these decorations and DIYs were like have been around forever on Pinterest, and just because you did it first, it doesn't mean like you're claiming the idea, okay? But on the other hand, I don't think it's okay for everyone to be like literally attacking her. And even though, you know, she kind of like, she didn't ask for it, okay? She just she put herself out there, but her reaction was not the greatest thing. And I think that whole like fake ass apology is putting her more into deep waters, and I don't blame people for not trusting her at all, especially after that. But I also feel like the bullying, it's like people are using this opportunity to bully two women, first of all, in the creative like environment. And you can say what you want to say, and maybe I'm overlooking at it, or, you know, being too not critical, over analyzing it, but I feel like people were just using this excuse to like be mean, right? Like, I feel like the comments I saw and all the replies and stuff on TikTok I saw have been very like rude, okay? Like, you don't need to be calling her a bitch. You don't need to be calling her all sorts of degrading words. Like, what she did was not the best thing, but also we don't know the full story, okay? And on Karen's side, I feel like too, I feel very, very sorry for her how she was dragged into this, because she honestly genuinely seems like a really kind person, and I'm glad that people are supporting her and helping her out, and she's still posting videos that bring her joy, and you know, she's not hurting anyone. But I find it just like weird with other people's reactions, right? Like, who are basically creating content with it. And I'm basically doing it right now, creating content from the whole, I guess not fight, but you know what I mean, whole debacle. And I feel like I don't know where I stand, and I feel like that's okay and should be the thing, where I'm not taking sides, because I'm not even in this scenario, right? And I feel like I'm just going around in the circles, but I feel like this whole week has just been news after news of people disappointing their followers. If you don't know where I'm going with this, I'm talking about Lizzo, and how there's this whole thing about these allegations of her basically abusing, body shaming, sexualizing, putting her dancers in basically harm's way. And there's a whole like legal thing going on, and public knowledge of the, what's it called, the accusations and everything are online. Heck, it's on TikTok right now. People are reacting to it and explaining it better than I could. So, you know, look up for that. But I think it just goes back to like how in the same scenario of like, don't meet your heroes, right? Like, people are just not who we think they are, and that's really sad. And I wish it wasn't the case. And you know, we don't know the full story, but I like support, you know, victims, and I support listening and believing everything they say is with truth and fact. So I'm not gonna be like, no, they're not true, because Lizzo could never do that.
Hi, editing Eunice here, because I recorded this video a week ago, and you know, if you're on TikTok, you've probably seen that basically the people who've made the allegations were lying. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I just wanted to say this because I feel like I had strong feelings, and I was very hurt with the accusations going on about Lizzo, because I have loved Lizzo even before she was like very famous, because I fell in love with one of her songs that was played in a movie. I forgot which song. It was song good as hell, but I forgot which movie it was. And I played that song on repeat, but I digress, because I was just hurt. So I just wanted to add this in. I don't know where I stand. I guess I'm just following up with the news.
I don't know who Lizzo is. She could do whatever. She is, after all, she has a whole PR team and a whole, like, just group of people to make sure she doesn't look bad, right? So I don't know where I can, my importance in this topic is, but I just wanted to talk about, I guess, of how intrapersonal relationships, or what's it called? Not intrapersonal relationships, but parasocial relationships, in which we think that one person is good because of the actions that they show to us, and that we're close to them, and if they get hurt, then somehow we have to defend it. But like, we don't know these people, and we shouldn't be defending anyone without the whole facts, okay? I think that's a very like dangerous aspect of the internet, because it's like, we really don't know what we're seeing or what we're getting. We're just taking everything with face value, and I feel like a lot of humans in general are very trustworthy, or just not knowledgeable, let's be real, to the fact that everything could be fake. Because I feel like in our generation, you know, like younger millennials, Gen Z, etc., we know that like everything can be spun into something good, right? You can make anything horrendous, like Oppenheimer, and make it good if you just have magic storytelling talent, right? And just, heck, people go to school for that, okay? That's basically what marketing is. People go to school to kind of like sway people's opinions and, you know, basically trick us, right? So that's what I'm getting at, basically. Sorry, I made the middle one right here, and oh no, I dropped one ball. Oh no, it's under the couch. Hold on. Sorry, I had to move the camera, so hopefully it's fine. I know, like, it's very, very sunny currently, but I can't change that. But anyways, where was I? I finished this square, and I tried working it up a little bit more, but it's not gonna make a full round, so I'm just gonna cut it here and keep this for scraps. And I'm planning on using the scraps for, like, filling up an amigurumi later on, so let's do that. But I have these two balls next, okay? I think I'm gonna go with the dark one first. But, anyways, what I was saying, what was I even talking about, honestly? I guess parasocial relationships and stuff like that. It goes back to the fact that, like, when something happens to our, like, favorite creators and they don't tell us that happened, like, per se, like getting to a relationship or something like that, people get mad, or when people break up, it's like no one owes you anything about their personal lives, and that's okay. But for some reason we get really, really angry when people do hide those aspect of their lives, and or you find it, like, very, I guess, disingenuous. But again, no one owes you vulnerability like that. You're like, we're not their therapist or their close friends or whatever, right? So there's that aspect of it too. But it's just, again, very disheartening when you look up to someone, especially someone like Lizzo, who's all about, like, body positivity, and then she's actually, like, body shaming her dancers who are plus size as well, and who are all for body positivity. Like, it's weird. Like, if you guys haven't seen the whole forum with everything, all the stuff she's being accused of, I highly recommend looking it up because it's just crazy. But, you know, back to the copying, and, you know, if everything is truly original, I feel like we are so inspired by each other, and that's, like, the most beautiful thing ever. And when I see people get inspired by me, or whenever I get inspired by other people, it's just, like, a beautiful feeling. And I'm like, wow, I want to create something like them, because that's amazing. And that's how everything starts, right? Like, you learn by basically following aspects of something that you enjoy. Like, if you enjoy, you know, let's say right now I'm trying to learn how to do Blender, and there's this amazing YouTuber that creates, like, step-by-step instructions on how to do it. And for the first thing, I'm basically copying her example that she's posted, and creating a Blender of that, right? And that's copying, but, like, that's how I learn. And then there's an aspect of obviously recognizing and making sure to reference back to creator, right? I think that's an aspect too. Like, if you're being inspired by another creator, you have to what's the word, put them as not a resource, but just, like, be like, hey, this is inspired by this person, or this is similar to this person, and I created this. You can't just, like, claim it as your own, because that's very, like, I feel problematic. And that's where the line of copying comes from, because you're not saying the truth, I guess. Like, even if you're not trying to do it on purpose, I feel like it almost inherently has a very sinister aspect to it. It's like, oh, I'm not gonna, like, share who inspired me, so people are gonna think I started it. And again, no one owns ideas. Like, no one owns how to make a granny square. Like, you can look up online how to make a granny square, but no one owns that idea. It's just been an idea that's been forever there unless you're like the actual creator of the granny square. But humans just love copying and mimicking each other, and that's just how we learn, and that's the aspect of life. And for people to be like very keepy is the word, yes, gatekeepy is very like gross and kind of like almost in a way falls into an ism for me, right? There's racism, classism, sexism. This almost falls into an ism for me in the way where it's like you're preventing another person to learn something because you find them not worthy enough to create the same thing as you. Or I don't know, people's egos get in the way and be like, only I can do it. And also in an aspect, I get it, where, you know, those are people's jobs, so you don't want to share like certain things because they've worked literally years to build that up. But to be very rude about it, it's just like, not it, sis. Okay, so like a lot of this happens with pattern making in the crochet and knit community, right? Like people end up making patterns and working on it for amount of time, and they obviously want to get paid for it, and that's fine. But in the end of the day, you guys have to also realize that no one's original idea is a granny square, right? Like you can't charge over $12 to make a granny square when people can literally find it online. And it kind of is like very like crazy to me that people do that. And it's just like, also at the same time, do you not want the craft to be accessible to everyone? Because if that's the case, you know, just say that. Because like, I get it, everyone needs to make money and everyone needs to make a profit because that's just the capitalist hellscape we live in. But at the same time, like, can we all be kind and just, you know, not overcharge for an item that's already exists in the world? Pattern wise, if we're talking about like custom design work and all that stuff, honey, charge as much as you want. Charge yourself fairly. I feel like a lot of creators do this where they undercharge themselves, and I am creator, honestly. And like it's really hard not to undercharge yourself because, you know, you understand that everyone is basically suffering right now at the hands of capitalism, and so you just want to, you know, not be a person that charges so much, or, you know, doesn't want to give those resources to people. But at the same time, it's like you have to make money. I mean, I get it. Like currently I'm in between jobs, I'm not working, so I'm trying to make a profit wherever I can. But at the same time, that's why I've kept crochet. I haven't like opened my customs because I want to keep crocheting crafts as it is, because when those things become, you know, monetized, then it's kind of like, where's the fun in that? It starts becoming more of like an obligation, and obligation turns into like stress. And I get that's also how an adult world works, but you know, no, it doesn't. Like it only works that way because we allow it to in our own lives. And like, again, that's coming from a privilege where I have a separation between my hobbies and my actual career, right? Like my career and my hobbies are very different things. Like I'm a nurse, so it does not overlap at all with like my crocheting, my fiber art stuff. But if I were a full content creator and my main content was fiber arts, then it does affect my livelihood, because if I don't do it, then I don't get paid, I don't get, you know, all that kind of stuff. I lost my train of thought, but like back to like overcharging and stuff like that for something that already exists. I don't think it's fair. Like we really need to look at it and be like, does this make sense? Like I think the basis of things is $5, right? Like if you're making an easy shirt that you worked on, like you've worked on the measurements that, you know, like whether it's graded or made to measure, and people are making it, that should be, the starting point should be $5. And from there, you know, size it up as much as you want for how difficult the piece is and everything like that. And, you know, wherever you list it, Etsy, whatever, you know, put what extra stuff on it, put extra coins in it. But I feel like if you're making, like, let's say just like a granny square blanket, I don't think you need to be charging like $10, $5 even for it, because, like, again, it's free. It's a free resource a lot of people on YouTube have. Like, I just looked quickly on YouTube or like a free written pattern on Google for this, and just I'm able to do it immediately rather than paying $10 to view it, and it's just the same instructions. And I get, like, not, you can't overlook everything. Sorry, you can overlook everything, and you won't be able to necessarily find the things like you didn't think it was an idea before. But the fact that when people get called out to be like, oh, this is actually already a pattern that someone is, first of all, currently working on, and then they're like, oh, I didn't know, but then I talk to the creator and they don't take off that listing, or they sell it more than the listing that the other creator did, it's kind of like very shady to me. Okay, that's just my opinion on it. It's very shady to me, where it's like you're basically making the same thing at the same time, even though you didn't say you copy them. I feel like in a way it kind of is, because there was this one pattern that I saw that was in testing, and then another creator, I feel like this happens actually a lot, not just one pattern, where another creator, you know, releases one. There's one creator, I believe, on YouTube still, where she released a pattern at the same time another creator released that pattern that they had been working on with their testers. And at first, I thought it was a coincidence, but it came out that, like, people were actually talking to this YouTuber, and she actually wanted to release that free pattern when that pattern came out on purpose. So it's just very sketchy, like, and that just is always weird to me. But, you know, that's just very much the tea of the fiber community. Before I continue, I don't know which color I should add next. Like a yellow, it'll be blue again, or the green, or the pink. I think it's either between the pink or the yellow. I think the yellow. Let's go with the yellow. I'm, like, slowly losing my voice right now. I'm, like, making a voiceover for another video, and talking on here is freaking crazy. So let's see if I can actually make it to a whole hour on here. If anything, it'll just be a couple of minutes. Actually, you know what? Let's take a break. Let's take a drinking break. If you guys have water next to you, any drinks next to you, go and sip it for a little bit. I'm gonna go get mine, and I'll be right back, okay? Okay, we got the waters. Okay, and again, I have my electrolytes in here. Oh yeah, I need that water so bad. But let's get back into the topic. I also, like, again, ask, like, what people on my Instagram wanted me to talk about in regards to, you know, inspirations and all that kind of stuff. And someone asked, what you can do to get inspired. And this is a great topic, because we don't want to be copying people. We want to, you know, create our own thing. And again, it's really hard to do that, and not everything's going to be original. But I think, again, you can still feel like you did create something by, you know, sourcing it out yourself, if that makes sense. Which brings me to my explanation. Sorry, let me join this color actually first. I'm just, like, struggling right now. This is a very short tail. Okay, I usually add, like, a longer tail to the new color, so when I weave it in, it's not as hard. I know there's, like, a special needle you can use when you're your tails end up being really short, but I don't have that. I just have regular needles, so we're gonna leave it long. But basically, what you can do to get inspired. Let me look at the question again. What you can do to get inspired. When I'm really feeling like a slump, I love going to... Oh, excuse me. I like going out in nature, right? And again, I think it really depends what type of art you're doing. Obviously, like when I want to get inspiration, like in general with art, because I also paint and do clay outside of fiber arts and stuff like that. I love going to museums and seeing like mostly modern stuff, expressionism, abstract. Those are kind of my jam. And from that, I honestly also end up making a lot of my pieces towards that kind of aspect. And currently, I'm like starting to make my own patterns, so I really see that more now with what I'm working on. But I usually see in my work with crochet and knit and stuff like that, usually with the colors, because in those kind of art, I feel like people go crazy with the colors. And when I usually see like inspo for clothing pieces on my Instagram, it's usually like neutral color. Maybe because that's just what's trendy. But when I go to like museums and look at all the vibrant colors that people can create with like paint and, you know, all those other different artworks, or like blown glass even, those are what usually get me inspired to make the pieces I make with certain colors. And I think that's why I love like crazy colors in my pieces. And what else? I usually go out into nature and kind of like just jot down I take a lot of pictures of things that inspire me, and those are usually references I used to draw or feelings I want to invoke in my pieces and stuff like that. I'm starting to learn how to weave, and so I'm excited to like use those pictures as inspiration for weaving, because I've seen a lot of weaving creators where they make like backgrounds into pieces. I think their name is like, one very popular one is called like Meek and Oak. I don't know, I'll put it here probably. But those kind of things, you know, nature helps. Flowers, I mean, that's part of nature, but flowers has a great effect on me, especially for color. Like, I was so excited when I was testing for the pansy bag, because I have so many pictures of pansies and just flowers in general, and I really wanted to go crazy with the colors and not just like usually the colors what I see. I made one regular one that's very much pansy colored, like again, this is a scrap from it. And then I made one that's like crazy colors that kind of reminds me of like Alice in Wonderland vibes. And I love that one. And, oh, that goes to my next thing, which is like watching your favorite shows and really like using those vibes and feelings in your pieces. And honestly, for me, I feel like I always want to go for a vibe rather than what something actually looks like. I want a piece to make you feel a certain way. Like usually I could literally make like a need, right? THNED, and it'll look weird, but when you put it on, it'll make you feel like a certain vibe that just totally elevates the pieces. And I think one person that really inspires me for those kind of things are a lot of knitters, but basically Julia Dang, and how she like reworks things that she owns into different pieces, like something as simple as like turning a skirt into a dress or a shirt or whatever like that. I want my pieces to be like that, and I also want my pieces to be like wearable in different settings, if that makes sense. Art museums, nature, wearability, shows and movies that you love. Also, I think one thing that's usually inspires me is like antique stuff. I love going to like antique stores or just like downtown areas where things are usually like older and preserved, at least where I live. And I like taking pictures of those and getting inspired by those aspects of things, because you don't really make clothing like they used to make vintage clothing. I feel like it's just so cute, and a lot of my pieces like this is like thrifted and I'm assuming vintage by the tag. Like they don't make fun clothes like this anymore, and I'm sure they probably do, but you know, like there's a thrill of finding stuff at the thrift store and antique stores. I call them like treasure hunting. And also it's like, you know, less harmful to the planet because it's not fast fashion, and it's cheaper. Honestly, that's another great thing about it too. And you can actually find a lot of older crochet pieces at the thrift store and get inspo from that as well. I also love looking online for like vintage stuff and using those as a inspo to my pieces. Right now I'm really into like Bratz, Polly Pocket, the Barbie, like, you know, the old Barbie movies kind of franchise aspect of things. And so I feel like that's where a lot of the colorful stuff comes from. It's also Bluey. Like, obviously this is Bluey colors, but if you guys ever watched the show Bluey, it's literally so colorful and so cute, and all the colors just like work perfectly together in my opinion. And as for like again, back to like the actual fit of things, that's just like comes and goes for me, like what inspires me. I'm currently doing like a lot of freeform stuff, but I'm not ready to show it yet because I don't even know what I'm doing with it. I made a lot of freeform like headbands and stuff like that, but I want to make like bigger pieces, like a skirt or a dress, but I just don't know what kind of vibe I want to go for it yet. So be on the lookout for that in the future. But let's look at their other questions and see where can you get good inspo from, and what do you do when you feel stuck, and what inspires you, etc. I guess another topic to talk about is, what do you do when you do get stuck? I love just honestly taking a break. Stop what you're doing. If you're getting burnt out from crochet or you're not getting inspired, stop doing that and pick up another hobby or do another hobby that you love and cycle through those, okay? Don't be doing crochet all the time, all at once, because you'll get burned out, you'll start hating it, and you'll never crochet ever again. Trust me, I've been there before. And so, you know, taking the necessary breaks and having other hobbies other than crocheting and all that sort of stuff, like, I would say helps. Also, moving your body, as dumb and tiring as it is to move your body, you know, working out or going on a walk or just being outside in the fresh air, or honestly just sitting on your couch, opening the window, breathing in the fresh air, does a lot to get stuck. Usually when you feel stuck, I feel like there's a mental and also physiological aspect going on with it, where you're not getting enough oxygen, so your brain can't talk. You can't talk. Yes, your brain can't talk. Your brain can't think well, and you feel stuck. And on the aspect of it too, you know, changing your environment helps a lot too. Like moving your stuff around the room if it does feel stuck. Or what I love to do, I love going to the library, because the library has so many free resources and it's just great and quiet, and you can just go there and listen to a podcast, watch videos. My library has a cafe in it, so I just hang out there and just do that. And also the thing that inspires me is like people watching and like seeing, like, it's silly, but like being like, okay, what kind of piece would this person like? Because like at the same time, I want to make pieces for myself, but also that's where I feel stuck, because then I start dreading putting things on because I don't feel a certain way. And that's why I also haven't took a picture like in a bunch of stuff I've tested for in a while, because even though I finish it, I don't feel good in it, so I just don't take pictures, and I'm slacking in that area. But if you're like going out and people watching and you're wanting to create stuff for other people, that can inspire you, and also you might create something that you actually really, really love. And I guess that's another thing too. If you don't want to do that, you can do testing for other people, and that, you know, helps kind of like give you an outlet to create things, but you don't have to think about stuff and create something new. That's why I love testing, because I just, in general, I love the things that I see, and people are so freaking talented. But it also gives me kind of like a routine to go back to and just do do pattern that's not mine, and not have to think about extremely hard about, you know, what if this doesn't work, or like what if no one's gonna like it, blah blah blah, that kind of aspect. Because I feel like as a tester, I'm only just worried about if the pattern flows, and like is it size inclusive. And now that I'm like a pattern designer on the side right now, it's very tiring, because you have to think about those things, but also like the logistics, and like basically starting from scratch. And thankfully, like the thing I'm making next, which is maybe a little bit of a spoiler, but is fairly similar. Yeah, it's fairly similar, but also simple in a way that everyone has probably created or seen it, and so they can kind of grasp the idea of how it works. But yeah, it's just a lot of stress, I feel like, as a pattern designer, to, you know, make sure everything works out, versus when you're a pattern tester. So if you're feeling stuck in pattern designing or making things from your own mind, I would say do that. I love Pinterest. Pinterest is a great thing, even though I just said earlier that people love stealing ideas from them. Again, credit people, okay? Credit people. That's the most important thing. Okay, we made 2 rounds of that, so now I'm going to switch to a different color. I don't know if I want to go like between with these darker colors, because I have 2, and then a lighter color in the middle, or not lighter, but you know, the colorful ones. Honestly, I think that would be a vibe. Or should I do this? Like, I know y'all can't like tell me right now because you're not here, but I think I'm gonna do this color. Okay, so let's join that for a second. Again, I feel like I've been talking so much. Oh my god, my throat is hurting. I love talking, but damn, I've been talking a lot this past few days. Okay. Join it. So what I do too, to make it easier to join, is like, since I'm using double crochet, right? On my last like yellow last double crochet, on the last step where before you pulled through the 2 last hoops, I pull it with the new yarn, so it's kind of like a seamless kind of join. And then obviously chain to keep it in place. And I'm gonna go later back and weave these in for a more secureness. And yeah, so now I just continue this row. But where was I? I guess we could talk about what's inspiring me, you know, since that's what I wanted to talk about before too. But I guess what's inspiring me right now is the old vintage stuff. And Birdie from TikTok. I love Birdie. Her house is so flippin' cute, and I aspire to have a home like hers. And a lot of her colors and shapes actually really inspire me with the pieces I'm making. Like, as silly as it sounds, like this is why I want to make the granny square right now, because I feel like it would be a cute piece to cover up the kind of boring pieces that I have currently. Don't get me wrong, I have a lot of cute stuff. Like, I have the Oreo stool from Home Goods. I have a giant bell pepper from Scraps, and I have a moving bookcase and all that stuff that makes my life so whimsical and everything. And I have a shit ton of squishmallows everywhere for pillows and just comfort. But there are like some functional things that are not cute. So what do? I make a giant granny square and place it on top of there so it looks cute. And I feel like that's just the vibe to go, honestly. It's great because I feel like this is just like a scrap hungry project. Scrap hungry? Scrap dying? I don't even know what the word is. I'm not making sense anymore. But yeah, Birdie and who else has been inspiring me, or what else has been inspiring me? I've been very much inspired by food, which is weird. I know, but like food, like Oreos, or like the packaging on food, or like there's a lot of talented cake decorators online, and there's a lot of like talented food decorators online. Like I watched the whole entire like seasons of Is It Cake, and I was so inspired by like their colors and their shapes, and that made me want to get back into amigurumi so I could make those shapes and everything. And I have a love for things that look like other things. Birdie, where she has like a Coke bottle that's actually a stapler, like functionality like that is so cool. And I know this probably doesn't at all relate to fiber arts because it's kind of like out there, but in my head it does. I have a weird way of going about things and thinking about things. But again, I want to say like I also do other art, so that also inspires a lot of my clay making actually. Right now I'm making like a bird's nest trinket dish, because if you guys didn't know, I'm Eggthebuilder, and I just want a cute little nest trinket dish, okay? And I made a little egg with it because yeah. And so I feel like those things inspire me the most lately, and not being on Instagram honestly inspires me probably the most, because Instagram is a lot of where comparison happens, and comparison is a thief of joy, okay? So as you see, in comparison can lead to a lot of drama, and also just in general like a lot of self-doubt and self-loathing within yourself, and that's just not the vibe you want, okay? If you want to continue to grow as people and just create things because you want to create it and not feel obligated to post it. And I think now that I'm kind of focusing on like longer form content, it's been more fun to just do it and like film it on the side and like make a voiceover, or just do this with you guys because it's really fun to do, and just have a little podcast, and honestly just like a talking session. Honestly, just have a talking session with you. And sorry if I like talk too fast sometimes, because I'm Filipino and also I have ADHD, so I just talk like 10 miles per minute. I know it's fucking slow, but I think we're gonna wrap up, honestly. Let's like finish this one row and then we'll wrap up for this episode, because my voice is starting to go, and it's a busy day. I am also editing another video, and I have a meeting after this with potential work stuff. I'm also again, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but I'm looking for a job right now as a post new grad, and it's been hard. As probably a lot of you know, if you have been ever a new grad, or you currently are, if you actually are, please comment down below, and we can talk and relay the struggles to each other. But yeah, let's see what else. I don't think I have anything else really to say about the matter. I feel like I've rambled on a little bit this episode, but hey, that's how it goes. How do you feel about this, guys? I think I'm gonna only make one row of this and join the dark one, because I love it, but at the same time I don't, and I definitely know I don't want to make it 2 rows after this yellow one, so I don't forget next time. I'm just gonna put the new one and connect it on. But let me know what you guys want me to work on next. I think we'll probably just keep working on this unless I finish it before we get on here, because honestly this is such a nice and therapeutic project, because again, it's just a simple granny square. You do the same pattern over and over again until you can create the whole step, and you can make it as big as you want it to be. Again, I'm making it maybe like, I don't know, I have like the IKEA Kallax thing, right? It has 4 slots, And just from looking at this is currently like 1/4 of one box, and I need to cover the whole thing. So it's gonna be a while before I can call this a day. But for now, we shall call it a day for me and you. I hope y'all enjoyed your time here today. I hope maybe you learned something. If not, thanks for sticking around and just listening to my rambles, because that happens a lot. If you guys want me to talk about anything in specific for the next few podcasts, let me know. If so, I'll think of some crazy idea to talk about, and hopefully by then nothing crazy happens in the world of the creative world, because honestly, after Lizzo, Doja Cat, all the other people currently I don't know if I can handle it. Ariana, oh my god. I don't actually know if I can handle everything going on. So maybe it'll just be a chill topic, but hopefully you guys join me next time and we can finish this together or start a new project and just talk about. But thanks for joining me today. I love you guys. Hope you're staying safe. Yeah. Bye.